Call to order the meeting of the planning board. Monday, December 9th, 2024, 6 P M. So we have Jen Mobley today, right? So we need to read in chapter 2. Want to take that?
On your side.
All right. Pursuant to chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy by a remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by using the Zoom login information provided on the agenda. Viewers can also visit the local scene.media/Duxbury for information about our programming, including streaming replays.
Next. Thank you. All right. So first item we have is open forum. Anything that is not currently on this evening's agenda. Or anything to be before. Again, anything for open forum?
I do not.
Okay. I do have one item. We have another meeting this month. This is likely going to be my last meeting. I am changing my residency to another state.
Oh,
So been discussing that with a few people and moving along that route. And as it turns out, if you're a voter registered here, I can't be on the planning commission. So I'll still be available for any information. I'm still gonna. We're not gonna not have the house here. There'll still be a presence here. But and I'll make myself available for anything you guys need any information on that I can give at any time. I tried to find out, I checked the town council and everything, if I, don't have a house here and pay taxes, why not be able to still do something? And I won't be able to do that.
okay.
So that's the reasoning behind that piece of the puzzle. And that's gonna start January. Yeah, yeah. So
Can you still serve on communities though?
they said no to that as well, but I'm going to hand off a lot of that information. I'm gonna see if I can consult on the zoning.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know why I can't do that. I can't be a voting member of that, but I can certainly still consult, like any of the town employees who don't live here are on it. So
So it's not just an elected issue, it's just a general.
it's both. I've been waiting a little while for that clarification. Yeah, I was hoping at least I'd be able to just continue just to do that, but I think I can just do that as like a member of that group, an outside member of that group. So that's gonna follow up with that with Rainey this week or next week. So possible. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Merry Christmas too, right? Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about it for quite some time, and it only makes sense to do as of the first of the year. So on a one-way ticket to Florida on January 1st. I'll probably be back by the second week. So we'll see. We'll see.
Get your mind, you know.
Yeah. Well, if anything does change, I mean, it's one of these things, we're trying it out. Yeah. We don't know if it's gonna work out through us or not, and if it changes with that, I can always run again. At that point, but I think this is enough time still for the position to be posted out formally, send something to the town this week. On that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Check it.
Okay. Anybody else got anything for open forum?
No, that kind of takes.
That was it?
That's it.
Okay.
I think that's big news.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna be sad, we're gonna be really sad to see you go. You've been tremendously helpful to me, certainly into our board. It's a tremendous loss.
13 years.
Definitely hope we
It's a
can
little
figure
bit of
out a way
time.
to have you consult or whatever.
Sure. Like I said, I'm more than happy you guys run into anything. You need to ask me. When you pass on anything, I'm more than happy to be available for that. Still don't have all the same email address and everything else, so. I'm technically disappearing. Okay. All right, so anything for the public on open forum? Seeing nothing, Let's see, first item on our agenda, CBA case 2024-21, 146 Burnett Road.
LPS.
Okay,
I do have 11 by 17 copies of what was presented and submitted to the town. I don't know
Okay.
if those would be helpful. I can pass them out to members.
sure, why not?
I assume they've been
We give them back, if you need them back.
distributed, yeah, not a problem. Would you like a copy? I left it down there.
As you know, we're a referral board on this, so.
So to give you some of the specifics, this is a referral. We have a zoning board of appeals, special permit hearing on Thursday. This coming Thursday, for 146, Burnett Road. It's property that burnt, was destroyed by fire in, October of 2022. There was a demolition permit, issued the following spring. I believe the house and all the remains, were, removed by May of 2023. This project, prior to my clients purchasing the property, had gone through the Conservation Commission and received an order of conditions that was issued on May 31st, 2022. What we've done is we've stuck to the Conservation Commission's footprint that was approved back then and issued the order of conditions. We're proposing to build a single family residence, so it's an existing non-conforming use, which is why we're into special permit. The property consists of 4,149 square feet. The existing house had a footprint of 594 square feet or thereabouts. Paul Brogna from South Coast, Seacoast Engineering. I guess there was a little bit of question after the house was destroyed by fire, how much was interior space technically covered by a roofing, livable and not, but they settled on 594. The footprint that was approved by the Conservation Commission is 657 square feet. So there's a net add of 63 square feet in overall footprint. We had our architectural review committee meeting last week and received a favorable review, and they reported to us that they were gonna write a favorable approval to the zoning board of appeals. So we expect that. The height of the building, we've had a few meetings with building commissioner Wazalewski to go over the overall design, building heights, to make sure that we were compliant with that. The new plan is improving slightly, the setbacks, the building, the existing house was built primarily within the setbacks on the front and both side yards. We are increasing the distance for the front yard and slightly increasing the distance on both side yards. The rear yard was compliant from the beginning, so the issue before the zoning board of appeals is obviously non-conforming lot size, existence within the setbacks. And we're also, because the new building, the original building was built essentially on grade, conservation requirements have us building it up. We have an elevation on the street side of about elevation 8, on the marsh side, elevation 7. We have to provide the first floor finished elevation of 13. So we're raising the floor up. Therefore, with 2 means of egress out, the platforms and stairs exceed the allowable 30 square feet. However, based on conservation compliance and then obviously building code compliance, there's not really an option. It's the stairs, the lengths of stairs that actually throw us over that allowable 30 square feet. There's really not much else really to report. We can certainly answer any questions that you may have. But we're trying to keep to what's already been approved by conservation and maximize the use of space on the lot that's allowable within the current zoning. And I think that's pretty much it. We have to answer any questions for the board.
Anyone, initial questions? Okay. Jennifer, you have any initial questions before I go?
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right, so you don't really have to be too concerned about the lot being non-conforming. The non-conforming lot is irrelevant in Duxbury. So the lot itself is, the lot is the lot is the lot.
Yeah,
It looks like you've got a chain of when the prior home was destroyed and then pursuing permitting since.
correct.
So it hasn't sat. Did anything. It's been an attempt at reconstructing a home on this property almost from the beginning, of the conservation, so that's all good. What did Jim mention to you about the overall height? What are you looking at for the total Duxbury height on this?
29 feet 6 inches, to the center line of the roof mass, which is a gambrel. So we have a 12-foot,
If it's gonna go from ground floor, it's gonna go from the dirt.
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
You end up at 29 feet
29 feet 6 inches.
total height, okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, you got 32 and you got the 8, you're at 8 feet at grade.
Correct.
Okay,
It averages out at 7.6 if you went to the center,
Sure.
it's 7 feet.
sure. Okay,
We're very mindful of that.
again, we're just a referral board
Mhm.
on this, but I don't see anything, you've lessened what some of the setback issues were before. You've done the calculation based on the size of the lot to get the additional 3%.
Mhm.
Allowable. Nothing there, it'll be a brand new house where the other house wasn't in particularly good shape. In the past.
No, that's an understatement, but that's
Understatement.
not my business.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, does anybody else, anything else?
Well, I guess I just want to verify this, because I'm still getting familiar with the 3%
Sure.
rule.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that it's 3% of the difference between 20,000 square feet and the lot, that's good area.
Yes,
So the lot area you said was.
41.49.
49, so the difference is 15,000, 51. 3% of that is 475.
Yeah.
Are we within the 475? Because I'm trying to.
when you get the 470, 475 is your additional,
Correct.
and you get 15% of the original total too. So the 4,000, you get 15% of that. And then you get 3% of the difference between the size, the small size of the lot and the 20. And you add the two together.
So we have a net out of 64, 63 square.
Yeah.
Total.
Thank you.
Okay, still fell within. It's
Yeah,
a calculation nobody ever gets. So, till you've done it a few times, then you get it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, we don't have anything else. We entertain a motion to defer judgment to the zoning board of appeals.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
We have to call for roll call vote. Jen,
Jen Turcott, aye.
Kristen Rapp, aye.
Dr. Casagrande, aye.
I got it right.
Okay,
Great.
good luck.
Thank you very much.
You
Appreciate your
can keep
time.
these in case you need them.
Yep. We'll take it. You don't need them.
No.
All yours if you.
No.
Good luck.
Great, thank you.
Good luck.
You're welcome.
Next item, ZBA case 2024-23, 271 Marshall Street. Anyone here for this one? No, they're covering the front, covering the front.
Well, it's, the front of the house has like a nose and they're building out a porch in front of it.
Yeah, oh, okay.
So it's not-
becoming a farmer's porch,
Yeah, so it's not adding any like, interior living space.
but it is adding lot coverage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And this was another 3% calculation, isn't it?
Yep.
You fit within that one as well, so.
So what is the intention with all those percentages? Is it? Like,
It's to give the small lots something more than the 15% lot coverage, just because the lot is so small to begin with. But if you had a graduated scale, the lot got really small, you could still build something you can work with. on it.
Say, for example, they build a house and they've done it 3%, right? But then if they decided we want to add on to it, can you continue to add 3%?
No, if you started at that number or lower, can't go over. The only time you get the golden ticket is you're way over non-conforming lot coverage anyway, and then you can actually ask for more. But not everybody's got that opportunity.
Yeah, okay.
And that could be on any lot. If you're over the 15% now, you can ask for more, because you're already non-conforming. Golden ticket, non-conformities. Okay, I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with the numbers on this one, when I was looking at it. Percentages all go fine, all they're doing is fishing out the front porch, so, you know, what everyone's feeling is on what to. Always, every now and then, suggest approval from our standpoint. I mean, there's no zoning issue.
That's
So,
not an issue.
no zoning issues at all, so.
I figured that the ZBA would weigh in and
Yep, exactly. So, what's your pleasure on the referral? Motion we want.
oh, yeah, sorry.
Read the motion.
I move that we defer the ZBA case 2024-21 for 146 Gurnett Road to the ZBA.
Yeah, 271. Marshall.
Oh, I'm sorry, 271, I'm sorry, 2023-20, 2024-23, 271.
Okay, I'll second. Motion in a second. Roll call vote, Jen?
Jen Turcott, aye.
Kristen Rapp, aye.
Scott Casagrande, aye.
Doug Carpenter, aye.
All right. The third over. Next thing we have is minutes, November 4th and November 14th.
Something for the fourth. Emily, thank you so much again for doing these. You always capture everything and I'm so impressed. I did have one question and that was on the November 4th minutes. When the 5 Hawthorne Hill. Wait, let me see this. No, I'm sorry, it's the 61 Tremont Street. It has to do with the I think it's about the fifth paragraph down on page 3 of 7. And it is, okay, so Ms. Rapp asked about the width of the road. Mr. Brennan explained that the road is proposed to be a 14-foot wide travel way, 15.5 feet of pavement total with a stabilized shoulders. Oh, thank you, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't figure that out. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it looks great, thank you.
One change 3 or 4 years.
So hard on her.
I know, everybody's so tough. Well, the minutes are always so good.
Yeah, very thorough, thank you.
Okay, so entertain a motion to accept the minutes of November 4th, 2024. That's it as amended, right? Okay, and November 14th, 2024. As written.
So moved.
Second. Jen? All those in favor?
Jen Turcott, aye.
Mr. Rapp, aye.
Scott Casagrande, aye.
Doug Carpenter, aye.
Okay, 2 minutes. Next item on the agenda, MBTA Communities zoning debrief. So are we hearing anything more at the town level about what anybody wants to do, or we just threw it to the wolves and see what the state says?
Letting the date passes by.
Okay. Okay, I know there was some talk afterwards that, you know, it might have been. I think we were caught a little off guard with how, the indefinite postponement piece of it. And I only found out, Jen sent me a text just before town meeting when I was preparing to go there. And that they were gonna try to indefinitely postpone, which would have had the exact same effect as turning it down.
Yeah, they went back and forth for a while about that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, we were gonna be able to. That could have been a little bit misleading to town meeting, because a lot of times people think, oh, you definitely postpone, we're just gonna put it off and then we're gonna deal with it. But that would have the exact same effect as voting it down according to the state, so we weren't gonna hit the deadlines. And I think when all that happened, it became a little bit confusing, where everybody wanted to vote it down, apparently majority wise. But we really missed the mark in not doing the presentation. We should have spent the 5-10 minutes for the working group to give the presentation. Then people would have, I've seen some things written in the paper now, and then I think people would have had a better idea of what all the timelines were and what was being done versus, okay, we just got this at the end and the state didn't get back to us.
I asked why the presentation wasn't,
I think it just got confusing.
yeah,
But
just went down a
The
rabbit.
the moderator didn't know, I don't think John knew what to do at that point.
who made that decision? I actually had a question about that.
Yeah, I can try and come up with an answer, because
Okay.
one of the working members asked me that same question. Who made that decision? And the answer is, it was a community decision. It was a community decision. We all made that decision
As in
because,
your community?
No, you know, as-
Or the community and the building pack.
the leadership, let's say the leadership.
Okay.
You know, clearly the sentiment was to vote it down. Everyone wanted, many people who went specifically wanted to vote, no, that was their intent. And so, you know, the appearance of being denied the opportunity to do that. The whole thing went sideways as soon as the IP came
Yeah,
up.
the IP made it more.
And, you know,
We done the presentation, they voted it down, that was one.
there was a brief window of opportunity when one of the attendees said, we want to see you. And the moderator called for presentation and you got up and read the transmission.
Yes.
And at that point, ideally, the moderator would have then said, proponent like to select the article. Didn't, because there was another question that was pending at that point. So we went right to that other question and changed the topic of conversation. So that point in time where it could have come up, just scared away very quickly.
Yeah.
And I saw that happening myself. I thought, maybe I should just stand up and say, Mr. Moderator, you really need to.
Right.
But I didn't do that. And in reflection, the reason I didn't do that is that I didn't want to stand up and
I
promote this idea. I don't, you know, it's a personal decision and I didn't want to contest the will of town meeting at that point. I thought, this is a sleeping dog.
Yeah, the only way we could have done it would be to get up and just explain, okay, so if we're gonna vote the article, we really should show the presentation. And then everybody can spend this next 15 minutes straightening out what they're thinking about and how they're doing. But, I mean, we all learn everything and, you know, Monday morning
Yeah.
quarterbacking is totally
20
different.
hindsight.
It all happened very quickly and the way it started off made it very confusing.
Yes.
Because town meeting wanted to vote. Apparently wanted to vote against it, but wanted to vote the article, not just push it off and
Yes.
see what happens.
And-
So,
Frankly, you know,
and I don't know, some people may have been turned if they listened to everything, but I don't think it would have been enough to pass it. It was very lopsided.
we can never know.
You can never know, exactly.
My sense is that the numbers would have been a little different.
A little bit,
But,
yeah.
not much.
Well, in fact, when I asked you that, I didn't mean, I don't want you to think I was attacking. I was really kind of curious.
I know,
because
everybody wants to know.
I
Why didn't it happen? And it's
I-
a tough question.
I have to say, I was really disappointed in how people behaved. I thought people were rude. And I thought, I was a little shocked that people just didn't care about anybody else's opinion. They were there to hear what they had to say. They wanted to talk and people stood up and talked. There was a lot of misinformation.
Mhm.
That was the thing that was really upsetting.
It
And I
wasn't
think that, pardon,
It wasn't countered.
it
that's
wasn't
the-
counter,
No.
partly because like,
Partly
you
because
said,
we
like,
thought that was gonna happen.
but partly because like, who wants to stand up to that? I mean, it's not that who wants to stand up to it, but it just felt like anything that anybody would have tried to explain or to provide some background or context, people would have, they weren't gonna listen. That people weren't open to hearing, which is just, I just found it really disappointing.
Well, some people were, but
Yeah.
the overall
Yeah.
sentiment was happening.
So
It was a big turnout.
it was a big turnout. So what I found interesting though is that I think kind of taking some of that information, I found that interesting, that what you brought here before us today to talk about.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna get off, I'm sorry, I'm going out of the agenda order, but
Yep.
and I don't mean to, but I'm just saying, I think that the more that we can communicate and educate people, the more people will be able to understand. And there are going to be forces that are outside our town, and that sometimes we have to figure out a way to come together as a community to make things better, as opposed to, it's just,
Yeah.
I'm not lecturing you guys, I'm just saying, it was disheartening.
Mhm.
Just thought.
It felt a little off. I had the feeling that the vote could go badly. I just didn't think that the tenor of everything was gonna be what it was. I think possibly some of that came about from the indefinite postponement discussion.
Yeah,
And then the discussion that the state didn't get back to us until the last second.
right.
And, I don't know if all that was necessary.
It wasn't necessary
Yeah.
because they had 90 days to get back to us.
Yes,
And so I felt like the
And we got it
facts,
to them late,
Yeah.
which was fine, but it didn't mean we couldn't move forward with what we had. Even if we had passed it and
Yeah.
sent it to the state, and then the state said, no, you can't do these things. There were minor modifications.
Yes.
We could have done them without another town meeting.
yes. It felt like
So,
those are all minor things we could have overcome.
and even if the map, there was a section on there, but the map, that could have been dealt with in March. if
Yep. Yep.
Need be.
if we told the state, we're gonna deal with the map in March, they would have said, fine, you're still moving along compliance, we'll get there. I think. Now we are where we are.
There
A
were-
lot of people wanted it to be this way. I think. Based on, I don't know what's happening in the other towns right now, there's one or two towns having meetings tonight. On this right now, there are signs all over the town, vote no, so it seems to be a.
And in the interregnum, the last time I checked, there were 3 towns that had voted it down.
They Houston voted it forward.
They did narrowly in favor.
Yeah, and that was their second go at it,
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
and they do have a train station.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder for them to say no.
I did think, I don't know if you noticed that there were people outside of the pack who were clearly not from our town that had signs out.
Mhm.
Because they had signs and they taped over something about Duck Hundred and Duxbury.
Yeah, over the signs, yeah. So I don't know, I think, we'll find out. What the state decides to do, and then what, if anything, they allow people to change after the 31st, so.
How's the committee feeling?
Well, we've had a couple of meetings since town meeting. The working group, Keats town meetings will. I encourage them that this is going away and we need to continue working on it, and, Brian pushed back and said, no, this is where we are. We wait for the SJC ruling, because the logic being that, we did all this work shooting for the target that's on the guidance. Now the guidance has been called into question. So why would we keep driving towards a target if the target might shift away to something? So that's why the wait and see attitude. Personally, I have maybe an amplified sense of risk to this. I don't really like the town being in this position. And, in studying this issue and trying to understand it, the thing that I really want to get across is that, we look at our role in the town, as committee members, as residents, we're taking responsibility for ourselves, we're taking responsibility for our town, and we're doing the right thing. And the issue here is that, according to the Constitution, the town itself has a responsibility to the common. There are judicial opinions and you can go and find them, but the basic premise here is that when the state experiences population growth, all of the municipalities are obligated to pull together to support that. That is settled as far as I understand it. So, I'm very concerned that Duxbury may go forward to the state and say, look, we don't want any of this population, because it's not a winning.
Yeah.
We've got to constructively address this.
When I looked into a little bit into home rule, I was sort of surprised because in some places, like it's community that gets to decide how they do things. And it's not the state. In Massachusetts, it's not so clear. In Massachusetts, the state can, if there's a need, a pressing need, the state can kind of override, which surprised me. I didn't realize that.
And that's clearly what they're trying to do.
They call preemption.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's still out there and.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right, you're gonna miss the next town meeting. You're gonna miss all the follow-up.
I don't really like the month of March.
Yeah.
All right, no, I think that's about everything on that, right? And so,
Jen, did you want to add anything?
Nothing that we haven't already covered. I think that letter from the state was just really bad. Could not have been worse timing.
I think we'd be better off if we just got no response and moved forward. Sent it either way.
I was the one that received it. I was so scared. I'm like, should I?
Yeah, just bury it.
I just
close my laptop.
Delete, whoops.
Damned if I did it, damned if I didn't.
Exactly what it was. Exactly what it was. Exactly. Okay, next item we have, minor modification of site plan DPW facility, 878 Claremont Street.
You're back.
Good evening.
Good evening. We have a brief presentation if you'd
Sure.
like, so I can walk you through that.
Yep.
And while I get the setup, my name is Jeff Alberti with Weston Sampson. Brian McCusker is also with Weston Sampson, the DPW director. Sheila Scarzi's down at the end, and we have the owner's project manager, David Hurley, is online if there's any questions. So I'm going to share my screen. Just a brief slideshow. Okay. So just as a reminder, just some of the high level facts on the project. So the site is located at 878 Fremont Street, which is behind Town Hall. It's the location of the existing DPW facility. And we are here this evening to request approval for some minor modifications to the site plans that were previously approved in September of 2023. And as part of that, we just listed some of the permits and approvals that were received, including 2 special permits, one for land clearing and the APOD special permit, as well as the administrative site plan review, as well as a zoning board of appeals special permit that was received, and we'll be meeting with them as well. And just wanted to summarize what these minor changes are related to. Primarily, if you saw some of this at town meeting, due to inflationary pressures that have been created by the current construction market, we've seen some significant inflation, escalation in construction costs over the year and a half to 2 years. And because of that, the design team has been working with the committee and the DPW to incorporate several value engineering changes. So these are essentially ways to reduce the overall cost of the project. And to summarize them, what impacted the site plan, the first was the reduction in the size of the building. From what was presented when we went forward with the permitting, we're looking at 36,500 square foot base building with a canopy of about 6,500 square feet. So that is 43,000 square feet. And what we've revised it to through this work, this value engineering effort, is a footprint of 32,600 square feet with a 4,600 square foot canopy. So that's a 37,200 square foot footprint. So that's a reduction of about 5,800 square feet in the building footprint. As part of that process, because we actually shrunk that building and we reduced the footprint, we were able to reduce the impervious pavement area by about 6,000 square feet. And we also did some regrading of the perimeter slope in the back portion of the site to eliminate, we had a large retaining wall, so we eliminated that retaining wall and just did some regrading of the slope. From that edge, and also because we brought that pavement edge in, we were able to do that regrading and without any significant impacts there. And then we modified our stormwater system to accommodate the reduced building pavement, because now we had less impervious area. We're able to actually reduce the amount of underground infiltration while still achieving the same goals that we had set out when we came forward with the original permit. So just to talk a little bit about the reductions. So as I mentioned, we reduced from 43,000 square feet to 37,200 square feet. And you can see the original plan in the upper part of your screen, and the modified plan is in the lower part of your screen. We lined up the right side of the building to help you see the scale of the changes. And really the main focus of the changes was in one specific area. That was the vehicle maintenance area. And what we essentially did is we had multiple drive-through bays. We actually combined those and made them double wide bays, and that helped us to compress the overall footprint of the building while still achieving the operational needs of the space. In addition to that, there were some minor dimensional changes to the shop area that's located to the right of that, as well as the vehicle and equipment storage area. But essentially, we came up with a reduced footprint of that building, and that ties into some of these other changes. So the site revisions, I've highlighted them on the left at a high level, and I'll show you a couple of graphics. First was we eliminated the retaining wall, so you can see with the red line, the limits of that retaining wall. So that retaining wall was removed, and as part of that, we went through the regrading effort And you can see with the green dash line, the revised limit of work associated with that regrading, with the removal of that retaining wall. As I mentioned earlier, we were able to reduce the pavement area, so you can see the new building is shown outlined in red, and the old, what was originally permitted, is shown in gray below it. And so the edge of the building actually moved away from the lower left side of the screen, and you can see with these arrows where the edge of that building has now been pushed in. And because we brought the building in, we didn't need all that pavement that was adjacent to the building. So we eliminated the 6,000 square feet in roughly this area. In addition, we had some minor adjustments to the remaining site features, and they're minor in nature. And what I'll do is I'll just show you how the two plans overlay on each other in the next few slides. So what we first want to do is outline a couple of key areas in red. So you have the original limit of work shown in red, and then you have the buildings, the main structure, as well as the salt storage structure outlined in red. And as I click to the next slide, you'll see the change in, it's very minor, but you can see that, and I'll just go back and forth a couple of times. There was just some slight shifting in some of the interior islands, as well as a slight rotation of the salt storage structure. And then I talked about the limit of the work on the back side of the site. And we actually also increased, you see those green circles, that represents some screening that we had promised as part of the project through the original process. We increased that screening as part of our design from green giants?
Green giants, yeah.
17 green giants. We actually have 32 at this point. So as part of our design, just to make sure that we provide the proper screening, we were able to come up with some improved screening along the way. And then, as I mentioned, there was a slight modification to the stormwater system. So essentially, the system includes deep sump-footed catch basins, which has not changed, as well as underground stormwater chambers, and those are shown here in blue, and there are 5 shown. And as I mentioned, because we reduced the pavement area on the left-hand side, those 2 will get combined, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then we also had some bioretention swales at the lower right hand of your screen shown in green. So as part of the revised plan, we combined those, some of those underground chambers. So we actually have 4, still achieving the same stormwater controls that we identified early in the process. And then with the bioretention swale, because we took out the retaining wall, we're actually able to capture all of the runoff off of the slope, because that's essentially clean. And we provided a larger bioretention swale around the perimeter of the site, you can see in the back part. So that's actually an improved, better feature for the site as well. And as I mentioned, the modified stormwater system meets the stormwater standards that were outlined in our original submission. And so in summary, due to the minor nature of these changes, as reflected from these drawings and as submitted on December 2nd to you with the revised plans, we're looking for your approval for these as minor modifications. And also thought it would be important to request at this point as well a time extension, because under the original approval of the site plan review, it's 2 years from that approval. And because we actually have a schedule now, we're looking to get that approval to extend to December 2026. That is it.
Okay. Yeah, anything from planning department on this, or we had our consultant, John. We had this out to,
Yeah,
Brennan right.
submitted a letter to the.
yeah, that was just the letter that was there, that was what we had, right? Okay.
I had a question about the retaining wall. So can you just remind us a little bit about how tall it was, and then what was the effect of the sort of landscaping and the earth above that?
So it was about 8 feet tall. It was a large concrete block, Lego type blocks. And behind that was was it 1.5, 1.5?
We didn't go up as steep with the slope before, yeah.
What was it, 2? It was 2 and
It was mowed. What was it, 1.5 for that non-mowable grass?
yeah, so it was just a vegetated slope, and so that hasn't changed. And so essentially what we did is extended the slope a little bit further, but kept the same finish of the slope. And all, so it's a planted slope essentially.
But I mean, 8 foot tall retaining wall is pretty high, so how are you, do you go from there to there and not in it looks like kind of a short amount of space?
Yeah, so we just, that's why that edge, of limit of work was extended a little bit further, so essentially we
But
took the
further
wall
back,
down and we
okay.
took that whole slope and started it at the edge of the pavement. And then went back, and because on one side of the site, because we actually brought the edge of the pavement back. When we did do that, we still brought in that limit of work, further in, and then on the back side of the site, it extended out a little bit further.
And we knew that on, I guess it would call plan left facing the animal control shelter in the cemetery, we know that there's the walking trail, so that area is very sensitive to going back further, so it actually worked out with the building, just the way it seemed to shrink, you know?
It actually brought it further away from that area.
Jen, anything?
Great presentation, thank you.
Yeah, no questions.
So much clearer, necessary, yeah. Improvements in some ways, don't have to do the retaining wall.
Yeah,
That's a lot. Still get all the design in there. Is there enough room between the salt shed? I know you're narrowing that up by the building coming back a little bit further.
Yep.
Probably be
Yes.
clipping trucks on the corners of the buildings.
Yeah, we made sure we had enough for two-way traffic,
Okay.
so no problems there. And we actually ran, some larger vehicle turning templates through that to make sure that they would, move through that area without any impacts.
Okay, all right, good. If we have any issue with extending your time period, just no problem there, that's, I mean, this is all pretty minor and it's been looked at, so I don't see any problems with us being able to grant approvals.
And we are going to the ZBA on Thursday, for the other special. permit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
separate. from us.
Understood.
Yeah. So we entertain a motion to accept the minor modifications, site plan and DPW facility at 878 Paramount Street as presented, as well as the deadline extension.
So moved.
Second,
Right? Roll call vote, all those in favor?
Jen Turcott, aye.
Kristen Rath, I.
Scott Castagrande, aye. Dick Carpenter, aye. Right, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
This is DBA.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Well, thanks. Appreciate your help too.
It's been a
Long
long
project.
It certainly has. It's an exciting time for the
Yeah.
project.
Gonna get going now, gonna get going. All right, next item we have is Parkside subdivision performance security. Planning board to set bond amount for the release of lots A, B, and C of Snowy Owl Circle. Okay. But.
Randy, those
Yeah, there you go. All right. All right, so what are we looking for here? What are we? Trying to put together? You not already have a security amount set up on this?
I found this on the web, sorry.
Found it on the website.
We're trying to release the lots on road, not the other road.
Snowy Owl Circle, so we finished that,
Okay,
we're ready to go on that one, we've actually cut in. And we've done, we're doing rock grading on the larger time lot purposes.
okay,
Just for these 3 lots,
just for these 3 lots.
and that included the sidewalk, the cost for the sidewalk to connect.
Yeah.
The 2 roads, that would be what we want.
Okay. We got a dollar amount for that?
Yeah, there's 2 separate ones. One for sidewalks, and then one.
Oh, it's 166,500.
Comfortable with that? Comfortable with it? We've already got the page down and everything.
I mean, yeah, we gotta find it down in there. Yeah, so on Snowy Owl Circle, there was no No sidewalks included. Yes. Yeah, but everything else is in.
Okay.
And so we're ready to release lots of the buildings we have going.
Okay.
We're actually building the turtle habitat behind there, behind those lots now.
Okay,
So we get that going.
get that covered.
Yeah.
I like the name of the road.
So we are, yeah, thank you. Get the pickle.
Oh, you do,
Well, I worked with your
Tony?
this
Tony
story,
also,
yeah. He gave me a bunch of different things. We came up with some variations. So
There we go. Good,
Came up with well.
absolutely. Okay,
Move that the planning board set the performance bond amount for the release of lots A, B, and C on Road A, Snowy Hollow Circle, in the amount of $166,522.
Second,
second. All those in favor, Jen,
Jen Turcott, aye.
Kristen Rappi,
Scott Castagrande, aye.
Jack Carpenter, right?
Thank you, you're set, get them building.
We're gonna get them going. We'll be back in probably May for the other road.
Okay.
Just one other comment I want to make, so on the side is I'm working in 5 or 6 communities that we own property in, dealing with the MBTA zone.
Oh, boy.
So it's I get to see it from all these different towns at different point of view. So
Yeah,
I understand the challenges and good luck with that.
definitely a challenge, definitely a challenge.
So.
Thank you very much.
we have our discussion about the village planning councils next. Do we want to switch so that?
Want to swap around?
Yeah.
Last one standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Nobody else is here for and steering the group, I don't think, right? So,
You're okay with that tag?
yeah, okay. So next item, we'll move to item 7, 601 Tremont Street subdivision, sign subdivision decision. Got it ready to go?
Yeah, I have a question. And
Yeah.
I was reading through, did we say anywhere in writing that we would not recommend that this become a public street? I know we've talked about it, but have we actually put anything?
It's only got a hammer. So this is-
Right, but I mean, lately, we've been really trying to make it clear, and I didn't see anything in the minutes. Is there a way that we? I'm saying, Tag, we usually say it's either, we have it written somewhere. Either, I don't know, it's not necessarily in this we could do it in this document, or it could be in the minutes.
Must have had it.
I think it was.
It should have been a condition of the approval.
Well, I thought it was, but I don't see it in. Would it be in here? I didn't see it in. I'm sure.
But we don't have all the members here to sign it. That's in the mindset.
That should be in there.
Yeah, it's not mentioned.
I didn't see it. I didn't know if maybe I just missed it.
What would it say if you added it?
Should we say if we, board does not recommend, would not recommend this? Emily's got a great, it's basically like,
So it's like a one-liner?
yeah, just.
Yeah, it's like,
So that
in the
everybody's,
conditions of the approval, this
But
will
it
not be.
doesn't prevent it,
presented.
it just says you don't recommend.
yes,
I'm fine with that if you can write it in and then change the template. I'm hoping that it gets signed tonight for the reason that if it's filed tomorrow, there's a very slight chance we can close by the end of the year.
Oh,
You could. I just saying. Your signature page wouldn't,
signature page won't
yeah,
change.
it won't change.
We do
You
that.
just take a vote and add in the language, and then she can change it, in the body.
Okay,
And you can still sign it with your vote. Just the thought, just so you're not holding. it
Okay.
up.
is 3 enough, or do we need 4?
How many, sorry.
There's 7, but there's only 3 here,
Yeah, you need 4.
but could somebody swing by tomorrow morning and sign it?
I can come by tomorrow morning and sign.
Well, that would be
then we'll have the
great.
4.
There you go.
And then we'll have the revision for you to pick up too, so they'll all be tomorrow.
Right.
Okay,
So do I don't file it with town clerk, you file it, right? Or
So
We filed.
You filed, yeah, okay, so I don't have to. And I won't pick it up until the appeal period expires, but yeah, I would like
What the appeal period's gonna be.
the 30th.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm not, and that's my other reason I'm here, understanding.
So
the
they'll
timing.
close with this signed, even though the appeal period's not over?
I don't know, we need the plans, so how does it work? Do you have to sign the plans at a meeting, or can you just filter in and sign them?
No, we just signed the plans.
yeah, so
Yeah.
But you wait until the appeal period expires, right, or not?
No, you don't.
We usually sign them right
Great.
away.
Great, oh, that's terrific, but you don't need to do.
But we don't have them here, right?
We don't
No, I
have
don't
them
have-
here, but I'll get them here. But you can sign them not at a meeting, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we usually just sign them,
Just come
we
in,
just swing by and sign.
and then there's like three items that I have to provide, I can just provide them to staff, right? And then that's it.
Yep.
So then, in theory, on,
You got a lot of moving parts.
in theory, everything will be, I think the 30th is the end of the 20 days, so are you open New Year's Eve here?
I'm somehow doubting it.
New Year's, you'd be closed New Year's Day, but
Yeah,
maybe not
definitely.
New Year's, I mean, it's a Tuesday,
Is
maybe it's a half day.
there anything to say on the? Emily, you working that day?
If it can't be done, it can't be done,
You
but.
are working that day?
Yeah.
That's, she knows if she's
So
working.
I would just go to town clerks and get the certified copy.
Yeah.
If you're open, if you're not, then I can.
If you got everything, we approved this with the change will be made. Then this is signed. Jen can come down tomorrow and sign it,
So-
but you haven't got the plans into them.
I will, I wouldn't understand the timing, I
Sure.
was, I
So,
thought you
but,
couldn't sign until
Yeah.
after.
Jennifer wasn't on the original vote here,
Oh, she's.
so, yeah, Emily just picked up on that. So we would need Matt or Warren.
Oh,
Yeah.
Would they be able to attend in the morning? She can, you shoot them.
The three of us.
So Emily's gonna email.
If you can't, you can't,
See if
but
they
it's
can-
just,
We'll try.
yeah,
we
yeah,
can try, we can do
Yeah,
that.
we'll do the best we can.
it's just such a crazy.
We'll get the three of us to sign it and one of the two of them, I'm sure can get in to sign it, so.
What is the appeal process?
That's just what butters could appeal during the 30-day comment
I think
period.
it's 20.
20, okay. I don't know. You're the attorney.
I thought I read 20 in here, I wasn't sure whether it was 30 or 20, to be honest with you, and I thought it said 20.
20 business days or 20
20
calendar
days.
20 days.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
In terms of the specific language, Emily or Rebecca, I note that on page 6 of the draft memo, under item 6, it says right there, until such time, the town accepts such roadway through a town meeting vote. So it implies in the memo that it would be accepted.
Right.
So it's already kind of slanted the
Oh, there you
roadway.
go.
So we need to strike that out of 6, and then there's a perpetual condition at the bottom, perhaps that's where this would belong.
Oh, I don't think perpetual would, just,
Well, I don't know what.
because it's a recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
Yes.
So we just like to, there've
Yeah.
just been some instances where it wasn't clear, and so we
Right.
just really wanted to make it clear with everybody.
Yeah.
Cause in 30 years, somebody might, when we're all out of the picture, somebody might come back and say.
Maybe you could just add it to that provision.
That's why I think it's a perpetual condition. The roadway was not designed
Yeah.
to be accepted as a public way. Full stop.
Right, but I don't think we don't have the authority. I think it's select board and town meeting. So I think that's why we always try to at least say,
They usually run by what we
right,
would decide. Or suggest.
But maybe at the very end of paragraph 7, that's where you put the phrase, until such time as the town accepts. Or maybe at the very beginning, that the planning board does not recommend that this ever become, but until, and then
maybe we would take that second.
put that stuff in, because it's
If I
possible.
may, through the chair, Scott, the planning board does have the authority to enforce any conditions that we want, and it's my understanding that one of the conditions of approving this, because of the waivers that the design was requesting, that this would not become a public way at any time in the future. So we have every right to enforce that condition in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to do, so.
Oh, okay.
We had the wording somewhere, right? Have it from another,
Yeah, I think one of the recent ones had that condition in there.
Yeah.
Vetted by
let's just
town
input it
council.
wherever we did on the prior one, so it's consistent, or whichever section it was input to. That'll be where it lands.
That'll be fine.
So, does that mean we have to move and then draft memo? At this point?
Or as amended,
Prove it as.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna sign it because it's not revised yet.
we're just gonna sign a signature,
Just HR.
because the rest of the body is gonna be replaced.
Should we do that?
She's gonna send it to Scott and I tomorrow, just so we can double check it.
Okay. Alright, so do we need a motion here then?
Yep.
Okay. I move that we sign the subdivision decision for 601 Tremont Street subdivision, noting that, there will be revisions, that Rebecca and, Chair will make revisions to that tomorrow, and that we will ensure that for the appropriate signatures are in place.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor, Jen?
Jen Turcott, aye.
Kristen Rathline?
Scott Castagrande, aye.
Ted Carpenter, aye.
Thank you. Is this your last vote?
That could be my last vote.
Wow.
Where in Florida are you on?
Palm Beach?
East.
Yeah, yeah. We'll still be back and forth quite a bit, but I will not be in the state of Massachusetts, 6 months from a day at least.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy holiday.
Yeah, we could, why don't we just, we get them out of the way now, we don't walk up.
What are the attorneys doing this?
Ken, space in there. So what do you want us to sign? We're signing all over the place.
So Jen, I have a question about what you said that we
Kathy
have,
Muncy.
what?
Muncy.
Muncy, okay, thank Kathy Muncy, okay, thank. So we have the authority, for some reason I thought that the select board could actually go to town meeting and approve, that they could take it to town meeting and approve it, but can they only do that with our approval?
So there's two different processes. One is a subdivision application, which is what this Tremont Street project is. And along that approval process, if an applicant has a design where they ask for waivers, right? We, the planning board, can request conditions of approval because of the waivers that they're asking for. Like if they design a subdivision within that meets all of our standards without asking for any waivers, then we still can grant conditions, but that is what the planning board approval has leverage over. And then the separate process of street acceptance is what you just described for when new streets get built, the process by which they become maintained by the public works department, like for snow removal and maintenance and all that stuff, is through town meeting, and the select board initiates it
Okay, thank you.
to get on the town meeting warrant. And then it has to be voted to approve at town meeting.
So that's
And as we've seen lately, they depend heavily on what the planning board wanted to do.
Perfect.
Planning board said, no way, this was never supposed to happen, and they won't even let it get to town meeting, so.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't even get on the warrant.
We wanted to be more clear with what was listed, because people we're having the discussions while they were doing it, it's not in as a condition. And then they were trying to come forward anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it kind of sounded like that's where that conversation was going, which is why I spoke up.
Okay. All right, next item, planning steering group, village planning council. Peggy, have the lead on this one, so
Well,
take it away.
thank you for putting it on the
Sure.
agenda.
Absolutely.
Sure, and thank you, Emily, for distributing that. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read the document. It's a straw man, because I know it's a very kind of bulky straw man, but it's a
Yeah.
straw man nonetheless. It's for
Yeah.
purposes of discussion.
Yes.
And, it's really as a result of what we've gone through in the last, part of a year of MBTA, but it's something that's been percolating for some time. So the basic proposal is, in response to the need to have a hand on the tiller for plan execution. Because now, obviously, a professional town planner has certain responsibilities and skills, and we can't replace that with volunteers, and I'm not trying to do that here. What I am trying to do is, really capitalize and improve on the public's attention that we seem to have right now. Because, I've been volunteering for the town for a long time, you have too, and the way it is, it's kind of musical chairs. There are only so many committees. There are a lot of
Yeah,
them,
there are a lot.
but people get on them and they tend to stay on. And when the seat opens up, there's a very brief window where, if you get wind of it, you can file a town bank form and you get considered. But in general, it's a dormant process that is only activated intermittently.
Yeah.
And I think, from what I've seen, once people become engaged, they want to become involved, and it's very difficult to do that. So this proposal for a steering group is obviously another committee, would require staffing by volunteers. But by adding an additional standard, if you will, in the town, whereby neighborhoods and villages themselves can form their own committees essentially, and at their own behest. I mean, if there's nobody interested, then it's not staff. This would still work, but if we have engagement, somebody could get into a planning council and become informed and become involved, and it becomes almost like a farm team for the volunteers,
Yeah.
So I see an opportunity to broaden the base of participation by the public. And through this structure, create an effective communication channel between residents and town.
Yeah, and have it maintained as a communication channel, not. Sometimes they can turn into, they want teeth after a while.
Sure, I know, and that's the thing, it's not an enforcement body,
Not-
it's a
Not making
communication
decisions,
function.
it's
I
communication.
mean, the vision of it, if I can describe it, is, we have, obviously, town meeting is the legislative body, but it only meets once, maybe twice a year. And then we have the select board during the year, to make sure we're keeping with what the town meeting said, and the town manager to make sure the town executes. The town manager has formed an implementation committee for the master plan,
Yes,
department heads and
yeah,
parties within town hall, which is great. That's what we need. We need a focal point within the town government, but we don't have a focal point outside.
Yeah.
And so the steering group, as it's described, it's specifically a subsidiary body of this board of planning. So it's really feet on the ground for the planning board to be able to leverage that. And this process that I proposed, the request for comments process, is a well-established practice in various standardization bodies and governance activities. And fundamentally, if there's a proposal that's coming out of planning or the select board or one of the other volunteer boards, let's say we have a project, we have an idea, we need a bylaw change or whatever it is. Instead of them having to hire a consultant and set up a project plan and take 6 months and do surveys and gather data and compile data, all special effort. If this mechanism were to be put in place, then it would be essentially at the ready to support that objective of communicating the intent of the government to the people and getting them engaged in that and understanding what the proposal is and providing feedback on it and incorporating that feedback outside of the town meeting cycle, so that when town meeting comes along, that the consensus building exercise is already in motion. Okay, because we've certainly seen that private consensus exists, but where's the public consensus? And that's what's lacking, frankly.
how many people would you think be involved? You might get people want to be involved in certain ways.
Yeah,
not others.
well, and that's part of the dimension is that, as a historical commission member, sitting on the CPC, I saw how each board has a mission. You have their charge, you have to process your applications, you have to, enforce or encourage compliance with state law in your area. So, we're all specialized, we're all driving down a particular track, and planning isn't part of that. And the items that come in from planning aren't part of that, so they always get short shrift, they always get to the bottom of the priority list. There really isn't anybody's sort of keeping the forward motion in mind. So as far as the number of people, I mean, the steering group will, probably be committee of 5 to 9, I mean, it's not defined yet. And it's strictly, like an expediter, like a short order cook or something,
Yep.
They're just taking direction from the planning board and select board and, fielding any proposals or proposed changes that are coming up and making sure those are communicated out, like feedback on that and collating that and getting it back to the group. So it takes that workload of trying to move the plan forward.
Sure.
It shares it with the other committees, doesn't take it away from them. It's like a partner.
I don't personally see anything wrong with it, especially in the situation we're in currently. Where, we have planning assistants, but, as far as having full-time town planner,
Yeah, so
that can all be adjusted. It wouldn't, doesn't mean that the two would still coexist. There's no reason not to. The planner could utilize that group as well.
Right, and that's part of my rationale in coming up with this is that I think, and Rebecca, you might be able to share a little insight on this. In terms of the planner role in Duxbury, I think that it's perceived as extremely challenging.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we're not getting a lot of uptake. And it's just a lot, a whole lot. If the town has a mechanism in place to intrinsically support that consensus process for planning, that would make it a lot easier for a planner to come in and be able to be effective. And so much of the job is,
I think it's a good idea.
having to do the legwork of setting up these outreach projects. And it's always a special effort, so.
Yeah.
It drives our costs up too. So of course, the concerns are gonna be, another committee, who's the staff contact, who's gonna do all this work? There is work involved, I'm not denying that, so.
Yeah, it has to be the dissemination of what is coming down out of the boards. So it'll be a combination of the select board and the planning board utilizing this group
Yeah,
to move things forward, but
Yeah.
primarily.
right, and so it's something where, again, as a concept, it's amorphous, I cast a strike at it, but it needs to be tweaked and looked at
Sure.
more closely.
Sure.
But the element of time, of course, is against us here, because we're due to update our comprehensive plan this year.
Yeah.
And we have to have this consensus mechanism in place in order to do that.
Mhm.
So it's either gonna be this, or we're gonna have to get back around and get a consultant and all that.
Yeah, I hate to have to do that again with the plan that was already put in place. It's pretty detailed,
Yeah,
pretty well thought out and
well,
gone through, so.
for its time, that's the problem.
So that was years old yet.
Well, I've been working with the COA and on their livable Duxbury planning exercises and the Affordable Housing Trust on the housing production plan, which is just about to be forwarded off to the state. So those efforts are effectively a midpoint update to the comprehensive plan, but they interest housing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I mean, I think it's something the group can certainly utilize, obviously, as you're saying, it needs a little bit more work to try to
Yeah, and
focus it down maybe a
I
little bit.
understand that it's a lot to bite off
Mhm.
on our first strike. So it might be one way we could approach this would be to establish it, but as far as the first order of business, stay on the housing
Mhm.
and make it the housing production plan. Implementation would be the first project of the planning steering.
Okay. Or just housing in Duxbury in general.
Yeah, update the comprehensive plan
The
with the
housing
housing goals.
with the housing goals.
Yeah, and then all the work is almost ready made, because you've got an updated HPP, and you can just
Yeah.
bring that in and say, here, this is our new,
Yeah,
it might be a real easy
got
win.
that to go with it, as well as get the update as to how far along we are on, revise some of those numbers, or get the details on the numbers so that can be disseminated to everyone. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, if we can get more volunteers to work along these lines. As you say, you also have, you might have people then decide they want to be more interested in coming to the planning board. Or, becoming a member of the planning board. Doing some of these other things, if they get a start in there versus just having to jump straight in.
Because it's intimidating.
Yeah, it can be, yeah, it can be, yeah. So I think there's a lot of good aspects of exactly what you're saying to do, especially at the time we are in the town right now. How longer do we have?
I committed to annual town meeting,
Okay.
Really? Oh, you're too good.
What did you say, Rebecca?
so I committed to annual town meeting.
Oh, you did?
Go to that, yeah.
Okay,
Zach, one of the things I really like about your plan is the village planning councils, because in some ways it's kind of what's missing. It's like distilling information, accurate information, getting kind of buy-in from different parts of the town. Because I think one of the things that also kind of upset me at town meeting was people saying, look, I don't live there. I don't live in Sag
there's a
Harbor.
lot of
I
that.
don't want that sidewalk. I don't care.
Mhm.
It's like, whoa. I don't want my taxes to go. I mean, like, it's just like, it
Mhm.
just wasn't, it was really frustrating.
The easement,
Pardon?
you're talking about
yeah,
the easement.
that was the
discussion.
free easement from the
Free easement.
Historical Society to get people down to the waterfront without getting run over on Matakeesit Street.
It's not gonna cost anything.
It's so brutal.
The money's already there. I mean, I was just, but somehow the like, we own this, but somehow the information isn't making it down, and people are feeling scared and threatened, and they're concerned about their financial well-being, and it's like, so.
Well, some of it does make its way down though, and a lot of the projects are focused where the more intensely developed
Yeah.
areas are. Like along the waterfront, it's much more intensely. That's why the sidewalks are necessary there. There's that many more people walking around, the road's narrow. Can we stick a sidewalk out on Keene Street somewhere? Yeah, but it's not gonna have as much use, and you can walk there without a million cars coming by. So part of that is just people are always going to be that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm paying for all these things that are happening over there, and I don't use that area.
Yes.
I don't use the waterfront, so what do I care if there's a walkable way down the
Right.
waterfront without getting run over?
Right.
So, I mean, so you're always gonna have somebody at any of those type of items that gets up and says that.
Absolutely.
The thing is, the majority of people do understand, okay, this is a benefit for most everybody,
Yeah.
and never gonna go down the waterfront.
So in terms of the planning council idea, this really struck me when I saw the 1944 protected bylaw map, because it has the neighborhoods on there, including Gardner.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows that they're.
Yeah, right.
And so, the straw man in there for the 16 or 17 villages. It's really an intermediate level, because the neighborhood is like the unit of
Mhm.
sort of municipal organization, so the idea would be a village with numerous neighborhoods in it. But we're not trying to address the neighborhood, just the villages, really, all we can really apprehend administratively.
But then I think a possible side shooter of that would be potentially be that maybe that community, that BPC says, we'd actually like a sidewalk in this, on this part of town, and this is where we like it. And so that might actually start, or something like a sidewalk, so people might start to feel like they have ownership,
Mhm.
and then they can actually make things happen. And
Yeah.
so in essence, it would be empowering more of the town.
I'd like to see, yeah.
I think there's a lot of upside to that.
You're bringing in participants from living in all of these areas.
Like this is one community, I mean.
And one of the things that people don't realize.
It's not that big a town.
As we studied the distribution of housing population in the town, we looked at that res density tool that MHP posted.
Mhm.
You can sort of zoom around and see where, there are more people. It's striking that we sort of think of Duxbury as, oh, well, it's populous here on the coast, maybe on between Bay Road and Tremont Street, but the rest is all woods. It's just not true.
Oh, there's a lot of houses.
There's a ton of houses.
Yeah.
And they're all just tucked away, so you don't even know.
Mhm.
So that's that that sort of perception that, well, the town is really run from Town Hall and Washington Street and all the rest is along for the ride. I mean, there's a certain truth to that. But we don't want that to be, reinforced just through habit. We should be counteracting that. Just give people the opportunity. And like I said, if it's out there and they don't take it up, hey, you have the chance. Sure, it's right there and go ahead and get involved. So finally, in terms of the BPCs and the neighborhoods, the thing is that there is we would have to figure out how to create those political subdivisions. That's really the challenge. Somebody's got to draw the line. I did it, in an exact exercise. But where does one neighborhood end and another neighborhood begin? Which village are you in?
Okay.
Yeah.
Every resident really ought to have the ability to answer that question for themselves. So it's a self-organizing, sort of bottom up.
Well, if you wanted to go with the map that you have, you break it up that way, and
Well, to start.
it could be an overlap. Overlay that over what we've got there now, and then we go by precincts.
Yeah, the precincts are much more rough grading.
Yeah.
They're like,
Rough graded. Like, for example, precinct 5 is east of Summer Street, precinct 6 is west of Summer Street. You split a precinct on the street, you're dividing a neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I don't,
Yeah.
they're not really that.
Yeah.
Boundaries are run perpendicular to the street.
Right. That'd be weird.
Yeah, well, I'll ask our resident planner, if you have any experience with that in terms of divvying up the community, setting those types of lines, such policies.
No, usually they're just town-wide. I've not seen that before. I will say, and I do think it's a good idea, but 16 villages with who's gonna take all the minutes and go to all the meetings. I feel like that's a serious heavy lift, because as it is, what's in our department, sometimes she goes to 3 or 4 a week at certain times of the year. A lot of times 2 a week. So I think that's a lot.
They'd have to be doing the minutes on their own.
Yeah,
They wouldn't have to be doing all their own.
That was an
Administrative.
Yeah.
Staff support for the BPC, just.
That came to my mind. Also, I don't know what your volunteer, but I mean, finding 5 to 9 people in each, that's a lot of volunteers when you add it all up.
Oh, no, I know that, and the steering group would be 5 to 9 people. Planning councils would be 0 to 3 to 5. and that's
Oh,
up to
okay,
them.
I thought it was each one. I
No.
just read this one.
No, because it's a nascent idea, and if it doesn't
Yeah.
grow legs, and it's a self-organizing activity, and people decide not to participate, well, then it's
Yeah.
a failed experiment, I'm fine with
I
that.
mean, the planning council could grow to whatever
Right.
size it
Yeah, the
wanted to
steering-
based on people around town saying they want to participate.
Right,
But then the steering group should be some sort of set number,
Yeah, that's the point.
5, 7, 9, somewhere in there.
So in the proposal, I suggested that, I introduced the idea of a plenary session, and this is again another governance thing. Plenary would be a meeting, kind of like a mini town meeting. It wouldn't have articles, of motions, but it would be a sort of digest of the activity for the quarter, and the steering group and any of the planning council members who are available would all tend together. And that's really your chance to open things up and have that sort of semi-public debate.
Yeah.
In advance.
We've done some of that, some of those things with housing
Yeah,
in town.
yeah, there's a summit.
We've had a
planned for
summit
January.
that we've done that before, where different members, ZBA, the planning board, got 1 or 2 members of each group. Well, pretty much everybody would be involved with anything that went on with housing, and then we sat around and talked about what the approaches we've been taking with 40B and what our approach maybe should be with 40B, since there's so many people are looking to live in a condo in town. We don't allow you to, we don't have zoning other than 40B that allows it. And the idea of, trying to get into the 10% number for affordability, that was hashed out over and over and over again, and just. Yeah, you can never achieve the number keeps getting pushed out there in front of you when you're trying to do it, short of doing some sort of big projects.
Yes.
Which is, as we know, the town is very in favor of that. So, and I've always made the argument that the 40Bs aren't built because nobody wants them. there's a big call for condo style living in town by the people who are starting to age out of the wanting to take care of their single family home. And they want to stay in town. This isn't for the 40B, there aren't any condos, so. And if we notice, I mean, it's not that the condos are built on just challenging land. There's some pretty nice parcels of land that could have had 4 or 5 houses, single family houses. They've gone 40B, one, because you get more on it, and two, they're gonna sell them all. They're gonna sell them all. They would only build 4 or 5 if that's all they can sell. If they can sell 30, they'll sell them. So, and again, there is a need for it in town. A lot of people in town talk about, I'd love to sell my house if I could have a condo in town. And have it be in XYZ, name the neighborhoods. That's why they need to be spread around a little bit more. Most of what we originally were doing were all right up here next to Route 3. And some people are like, well, I'm holding out. Now there's some built in all over the town, in different areas now, so there's more opportunities. To choose where they want to be, so. I mean, it's a type of housing we obviously have a need for in town, or people can be buying, so.
Well, so I guess I'll ask is, would the planning board be willing to entertain a motion to put this on town meeting?
They have the committee.
Fine. So it's not defined yet.
Is that the way it would have, is that the mechanism by which it would be?
I think so. I mean, in order to form a standing committee that's together for more than a few years, it's town meeting action. Maybe
Or is it
possible.
with the select board? I thought maybe it was,
They're authorized to form like working groups.
Yeah.
Task groups and things like that,
Yeah.
of an ad hoc nature, but not anything permanent. And I position this as, until such time as we have a full-time planner and assistant.
Yeah.
Fully seated and in the job. It's gonna be.
yeah, well, we find that out, I think it'd be a good idea to find that out, but I wouldn't see why the board wouldn't support. Doing this, I think it's worth, at a minimum, the exercise
All right.
to make it as something. That you're envisioning to move forward with, then we just have to find out what the mechanism is, because they have to go to town meeting or.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the benefit of putting.
We can find that out
down
from Rainey
is
pretty quickly, I think.
People would see it and think about it.
Yeah.
It's more almost a notification than anything.
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But also getting the endorsement of the voters, obviously.
Yeah.
would be important.
I think maybe if we. Take that up
That's probably-
and ask Rainey and the select board how,
Okay,
or just Rainey.
well, they're right downstairs. Go ask them.
Oh, they downstairs right now?
Yeah, I
They're
would.
at the meeting downstairs? Yeah, what they have going on, they look like they have a TV here,
So, budget.
oh, the budget,
Yeah.
that's good, they probably don't wanna bug on that.
That's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did FinCom, did you go talk to FinCom? Did they ask us to meet with them about the budget?
I
No, they said
already did
Or you did that?
yeah,
I did that.
yes, you didn't need me on that, right?
Did they ask you, did they say anything about a second position?
that. They mentioned it and I said it was in the, wage and classification study. And I believe that that's going to be in the option 2 budget, which I think you're gonna need an override regardless, but there's an option 1 and an option 2. So I wasn't really told to talk about the option 2 because I think getting over the hump of option 1 is gonna be a struggle.
Yep. Yep.
So, but they are aware of it. You're talking about the coastal resiliency.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are aware, they know it's in the classification study.
so we had no classification for it before, which was causing the problems.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe it.
So the job description and all that stuff, yeah, okay, good,
I don't know if the job description is done yet, but I know it's in the study.
okay, it's in the study.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they did a lot in one of the budgets. Money for that position.
I believe it's. So none of the staff was allowed to touch anything that was in the classification study. That's being done with the finance director and rating. I just know that it was in there. They're aware of it.
Yeah.
And when I was asked about it, the finance director said that the official classification study hadn't been released yet. We were focusing on option 1. I'm rolling with it.
Sure, absolutely.
That sounds great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Town meeting will be here before we know.
But when I do hear anything, or if there is a job description, I did offer to work on the job description with the coastal resiliency task force if they needed it.
Yeah.
So I'm here being.
Oh, speaking of doing things in a hurry, I'm gonna change subject. Okay, did you get the email from EOHLC today? They issued an announcement. They are starting the regulatory drafting process for the ADU law.
How are they?
The comment period opens on December 20th. And it closes on January 10th.
Oh,
That's our window for influencing the regulations for ADU.
right through the holidays.
So that they can get their regulations in place before the February 2nd deadline.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you open the letter and see the date on the letter? Cause I just got that while I was sitting here.
Yeah.
Did you just get that, like what during this meeting? Yeah. Did you see the date on the letter? The date on the letter from the secretary says December 6th, but the email went out today.
Yeah. 6 days.
It's like,
Maybe they figure they wait until the mail.
and then the first webinar is tomorrow morning.
Oh,
I actually emailed it to Emily and told her to email it to all of the planning boards.
Okay, good.
You'll all get a copy of
yeah,
it.
go over here to the
I
house.
think the way the ADUs laid out, we see something different in there. I mean, 900 feet. Lot coverage is still applicable. Setbacks are all still applicable, so it's just like anybody building an accessory structure now, only instead of our saying never, 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 to it can be an apartment. It is now, yes, it can be an apartment. I don't think we need to probably kill ourselves too much in town over, other than the allowable restriction is not allowing short-term rental. That's an opportunity for the town to go up or down on short-term rentals. That's about all we would be adding to it is. The boilerplate plus,
You wanna put it on a future agenda item just cause it's not on this one, so I don't want this.
that's into January at that point, right?
Maybe.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, the beach.
You'll be at the beach, do a little body surfing. What's the closing date of that? Was it January 20th?
January 10th, last day for public.
Meeting in that period.
No.
Yeah, and like, could you make sure, can we check in with the, have you heard from town council about the ADUs? She was going to work.
I thought she was gonna get some.
We were waiting for the regulations.
Oh, is that what she was waiting on?
Yeah, because she need, she needs a regulation, so I made a note to myself tonight to follow up with her. About that.
Well, maybe we could,
You probably should put it on,
for the next agenda.
I would.
And Emily, thank you for putting this out. Are there any changes from what you sent us? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Maybe that January 13th, you're gonna miss one on Scott.
I wouldn't have been here anyway, though, I'll be in Arizona that week.
You're gonna miss a lot of fun.
Well, it's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun along the way, trust me. It's been a lot in 13 years, yeah. A lot of different things.
Right, so Wayne hasn't been to a meeting, is he okay? Is he just busy? Does anybody know? He's a busy guy. Okay.
So they're defending people again,
All the time.
who's he defending now?
Yeah. Alright, do we need a motion there?
Adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote, Jen.
Jen Turcott, aye.
Kristen Rath, aye.
Castor Grande, aye.
Governor, I.
Right, we are adjourned.